Amazing Black Hawk.
Amazing Han Sen.
This is definitely an epic-making game. The Alliance Central Military Academy was never pushed this far before. Black Hawk is only one step from victory, but that one step is so difficult because in front of them is the best player in the Military Academy League, Jing Jiwoo, said when Xiaoxiao, thrilled. The viewers also became excited. At an absolute advantage, Black Hawk still lost 3 players to Jing Jiwoo, who was indeed a monster. However, at this point, Jing Jiwoo was the only one that had survived on his team. On Black Hawk's side, the remaining were only Han Sen and Lu Ming. They had every intention to eliminate Jing Jiwoo, but all their attacks were in vain. "He's no human," cursed Lu Ming behind a tree. "Indeed," said Han Sen, also hiding behind a tree. Jing Jiwoo had rushed down the mountain and entered the woods. It was almost impossible to see him at this point, and both teams were reduced to the starting point. The viewers held their breath. Before the game, none of them had thought that the Alliance Central Military Academy would be pushed this far. Without a doubt, the tactics adopted by Black Hawk were extremely successful. However, Jing Jiwoo was still there, and it was almost impossible to beat him. As they wished, they would see the duel between Jing Jiwoo and Han Sen, because the 2 players were both there. Although Han Sen had some advantage with a teammate on his side. "Haha, the coach of Black Hawk is really good. Lin Feng, you think Han Sen could win?" Tang Zhenliu smiled and said, "Han Sen's bow is too weak. His 11.0 bow is not enough to shoot someone like Jing Jiwoo, unless they were really close to each other," said Lin Feng. "That's right. Because of the tactics they used, they all chose 11.0 bows. Although that was successful in the beginning, facing a player like Jing Jiwoo, the weapon is their biggest weakness."
Tang Zhenli now winly note that.
Jing Jiwoo, who was moving freely, turned into a real monster, gliding quietly on the field. Neither Han Sen nor Lu Ming dared to move. Without knowing where Jing Jiwoo was, they were faced with great challenge, although they were 2. "We cannot stay here," said Lu Ming, ready to get up. An arrow suddenly came to him. "Move!" roared Han Sen, quickly shooting an arrow at the one threatening Lu Ming.
Bang!
Han Sen's arrow were bounced off immediately, and Jing Jiwoo's arrow only slightly turned, ending up on Lu Ming's shoulder. Jing Jiwoo's arrow was meant to hit Lu's heart, but in an archery tournament, getting hit in the shoulder also eliminated Lu. "All yours, Senior," Lu Ming left calmly, as he had done all he could. The audience were again amazed by how powerful Jing Jiwoo was. "As long as Jing Jiwoo's here, we will never lose." Black Hawk could try as much as they want. Students of the Alliance Central Military Academy felt a sense of pride. Jing Jiwoo is indeed the monster. They had such an advantage. They should have got rid of Jing Jiwoo first instead of Qin Cheng.
Bullcrap.
How can an 11.0 bow be enough to get rid of Jing Jiwoo at that kind of distance? Indeed, Jing Jiwoo could have completely dodged an arrow like that with his speed. Such a shame. Black Hawk is indeed a great team with a creative coach. However, they ran into Jing Jiwoo. Han Sen moved continuously, searching for his opponent everywhere. In the field mimicking a labyrinthine, Jing Jiwoo was not the only hunter. Han Sen was also looking for Jing Jiwoo. The 2 students quickly moved in the field. Although they had not made a single shot, their movements surprised a lot of viewers with rich combat experience. Without the help of any equipment, both Han Sen and Jing Jiwoo could always avoid the danger one step early and find a favorable spot. If it were just only one time, that would not be so impressive. However, after half an hour that you were still not able to make a shot, because either Han Sen or Jing Jiwoo could not find a good opportunity. It was like playing chess under blindfold conditions. Without seeing each other, the 2 masters competed psychologically, using the entire field as their chessboard without a sound. People who really understood the game could hardly breathe when they watched this. The tension and excitement were even more intense than a real combat. No matter Han Sen or Jing Jiwoo could have fallen into the range of their opponents a million times, but they could always turn away from a crisis. Jing Jiwoo had raised his bow 6 times and had to put it back down, and Han Sen was the same. So impressive. Both of them. Xiao Mingmei's eyes lit up and murmured, "This might be the greatest duel in the history of Military Academy League. No matter who loses, he is no loser," when Xiaoxiao said. The viewers on the Skynet agreed with her. Absolutely great. I'm afraid we could not see the same thing in the future either. It's a shame that they encountered each other so early. This should happen in the final. I wish to see Jing Jiwoo and Han Sen fighting each other again, but this year is Jing Jiwoo's senior year. Han Sen could participate again, but Jing Jiwoo will not. Such strong players. I don't want either of them to lose. One has to beat the other. It should be Jing Jiwoo. Han Sen's bow is too weak. If he uses a 14.0 plus bow, he would have a chance to beat Jing Jiwoo. However, for tactics, he chose an 11.0. Han Sen was born 3 years too late. If he's a senior student and has the same strength Jing Jiwoo does, the duel would be even better to watch. Almost everyone was lamenting for Han Sen that he did not get rid of Jing Jiwoo when he had the advantage. In the duel, with 11.0 bow in Han Sen's hand, he stood a very slim chance of winning. Jing Jiwoo could threaten Han Sen from 600 feet away, while Han Sen could not even guarantee a shot at Jing Jiwoo at 150 feet. That was why people felt terrible for Han Sen. Next year we will be here again. Seeing Han Sen was forced into the area of fallen trees and had to face Jing Jiwoo, Su Tianhao felt a strong regret. He had lost for 3 years and was never able to make it beyond the second round. This year, he was here again, and he really wanted to win. But their opponent was the Alliance Central Military Academy. Even they had worked so hard, they were still about to lose. As Su Tianhao was saying next year, he suddenly realized that he no longer had another year. This was his senior year and last year in the tournament. With mixed feelings, Su Tianhao's eyes went wet. Even I have to give 10 years of my life. Please give us a miracle. Su Tianhao felt suffocated. Situ Xiang's eyes were also damp. She did not realize that Black Hawk could come this far. Her plan worked, and now it was king to king. The only thing was that Han Sen was holding a 11.0 bow. At this point, Situ Xiang wished she could enter the field and hand a strong bow to Han Sen, which was impossible. Han Sen followed her plan and took the best bow for the plan to work, which played out nicely. However, Situ Xiang regretted it so much that she did not ask Han Sen to pick a strong bow. Ji Yanran and Chu Lily were wringing their hands nervously and staring at the image of the game without blinking. Chu Lily, Han Sen will win, right? Ji Yanran wanted an affirmative answer from Chu Lily. Absolutely, he's the genius, Chu Lily said decisively. When Xiao saw Han Sen was forced into the area of fallen trees and sighed. Han Sen did really well. He was only holding a wrong bow at the wrong time. If he is also a senior student with a 16.0 bow, this would be a super duel. Most people agreed with Wen Xiao. Han Sen was indeed strong, but compared to Jing Jiwoo, he was still somewhat lacking. It will still be you who defeat Jing Jiwoo, it seems.
Tang Yenli sai.
Although he was not great at archery, he saw Han Sen's disadvantages. Lin Feng said casually, not necessarily. He still hasn't given up. I can tell from his eyes. But I cannot imagine what chance he would have. In the duel in this open space, can he really win with 11.0 bow? Asked Tang Zhenliu. In this world, the absolute strength doesn't represent everything. Lin Feng watched Han Sen and Jing Jiwoo quickly moving in the area of fallen trees and said, we can never tell when the two players are like these two. Tang Zhenliu knew that Han Sen was exceptional. However, under such circumstances, he did not see any chance for Han Sen to win. After entering the area of fallen trees, Han Sen did not try to run anymore. He had entered the range of Jing Jiwoo's bow, and there was no cover anyway. Running was pointless. Jing Jiwoo walked slowly into the area of fallen trees with bow and arrows in his hand, and did not immediately shoot at Han Senator. Instead, he stared at his opponent and said, you did well. Unfortunately, we will have no chance to fight again. It has to be today. Why next time? Now or never? Han Sen stood still and raised his bow. Jing Jiwoo did not speak, but nodded, raising his bow as well. 2 persons, 2 bows, 2 arrows. Under the light, they stood like 2 sculptures. After 0.1 second, the 2 suddenly moved at the same time. The arrows were in the air and the 2 bodies were moving. Jing Jiwoo's arrow was obviously way faster than Han Sen's. The moment he let go, the arrow was already in Han Sen's face. Han Sen turned sideways slightly and dodged that arrow by a hair. Jing Jiwoo was more at ease. At such a distance, Han Sen's arrow was too slow to pose any threat to him. However, Jing Jiwoo still approached Han Sen quickly and shot at him again. Wiggling left and right, Han Sen was shooting back as well. The viewers were dumbstruck. In a duel like this, the two had failed to shoot their opponent multiple times. Shockingly, Han Sen's strange movements led Jing Jiwoo to miss 3 times. My God! 16.0 bow at 60 feet. Yet Jing Jiwoo missed all 3. Is Jing Jiwoo's luck too bad, or is the guy's luck is too good? A team member of the Alliance Central Military Academy said, "It's not about their luck. It is because Han Sen is too misleading. When he moved, he was constantly giving Jing Jiwoo the wrong idea, making Jing Jiwoo believe he was going into the other direction, which led to mistakes in Jing Jiwoo's judgment," explained Qin Sheng. "He seemed to be just wiggling unintentionally. It turns out that's a serious skill." The team members all looked to Han Sen in surprise. "You think you could dodge Jing Jiwoo's arrow unintentionally? Even at 900 feet? I'll bet you could not," replied Qin Sheng quietly. "This Han Sen is really somebody. Can Jing Jiwoo still win?" exclaimed the team member. "Although Han Sen is better than we thought he would be, his bow is too weak. As long as their distance is shortened to less than 300 feet, Han Sen will lose for sure. His arrow will pose no threat to Jing Jiwoo, while he will not be able to dodge Jing Jiwoo's arrows anymore," said Qin Sheng confidently. "That's right. From 300 feet to 150 feet, Jing Jiwoo will have the absolute advantage. With his ability, he could make at least 6 shots in this range, which will secure his victory," said the coach of the Alliance Central Military Academy. "Why 300 to 150 feet? Asked a team member puzzled. "Because within 150 feet, Han Sen's arrows would start to pose threats to Jing Jiwoo, which is why Jing Jiwoo should avoid getting too close," explained Qin Sheng. Qin Sheng is right. Han Sen must be very eager to shorten their distance to less than 150 feet, but he would not have the opportunity, said their coach. Not only Qin Sheng believed that, Qiu Mingmei and other archery masters also believed that. The distance from 300 feet to 150 feet was held to Han Senator as long as he could get through that. He might still have a chance, said Qiu Mingmei. As Han Sen was only 300 feet from Jing Jiwoo, Situ Xiang was praying secretly, "Go over." He had to go over. Go over. Ji Yanran rubbed her hands together. Go over. Everyone who helped Han Sen to win was shouting inwardly, although they all knew that the chance was quite slim, when the opponent was Jing Jiwoo, who was carrying a 16.0 bow. Even an evolver would probably not be able to make the perfect dodge. Han Sen moved forward, shortening their distance to less than 300 feet. Everyone's hearts were in their throats. Jing Jiwoo started to shoot as he entered his perfect range. Even with Han Sen's speed, it would be hard to fend off the volley of arrows from Jing Jiwoo. However, when Jing Jiwoo made the first shot, Han Sen had shot a volley of 3 arrows in an instant. As Jing Jiwoo's arrow brushed off Han Sen's shoulder, Han Sen quickly shot another 3 arrows. No way! Qin Sheng and his coach exclaimed at the same time. Even Qiu Mingmei, Situ Xiang, Wen Xiuxiu, Tang Zhenliu, and Lin Feng were shocked. No one could have thought that Han Sen would launch a full-on attack at such a distance, which was beyond what an 11.0 bow could do. If Han Sen's opponent were any other military school student, Han Sen might have some chance. However, opposite him stood Jing Jiwoo, and it was highly unlikely for Han Sen to hit the target, no matter how many arrows he shot.
Han Sen rushed.
He should have gotten closer. At such a distance, it is easy for Jing Jiwoo to dodge his arrows. When Xiuxiu was nervous. No matter how she saw this, Han Sen could not pose any real threats to Jing Jiwoo at such a distance. Launching the attack too early would do Han Sen no good. Terrible. Han Sen should have taken his time. Tang Zhenliu couldn't help but say. He did not have time. This is his last opportunity. With Jing Jiwoo's ability, he could not get closer than 150 feet, and even if he could, he might still miss, replied Lin Feng. Although that's right, it is equally useless to launch an attack now. I believe he has only 20-something arrows left in his quiver, and when he uses them all, he will have no more supplies and then lose, said Tang Zhenliu. So, he has to win right here, said Lin Feng. How?
No idea.
Lin Feng shook his head. Even you could not think of an idea. I think Han Sen cannot make it after all.
Tang Yen Li sai.
Under everyone's watch, Han Sen was getting closer and closer to Jing Jiwoo. An 11.0 bow had its benefits as well, which allowed Han Sen to shoot volleys of arrows easily. A rain of arrows flew toward Jing Jiwoo. Although they all missed him, they forced Jing Jiwoo to move around. Han Sen grabbed the opportunity, shooting and running towards Jing Jiwoo. However, anyone could tell that at the speed, he would have used up his arrows before he made it to 150 feet. Jing Jiwoo was so strong that even when he was dodging all the arrows, he was still able to make the shots using unlikely positions. Han Sen was about 220 feet from Jing Jiwoo and had to use Sparticle to the extreme to dodge Jing Jiwoo's arrows. An arrow flew by Han Sen's face. The flow of air even broke Han Sen's strands of hair. The arrow was so powerful that even it was made with a rubber head, it would still cause serious damage once it ended up on one's face. Han Sen still did not give up. As he moved away from Jing Jiwoo's arrow, he steadied himself with only one foot on the ground. With his body extremely inclined, Han Sen still managed to make a shot at Jing Jiwoo. After this shot, Han Sen completely lost his balance and fell to the ground. Han Sen's movements were provoking in Jing Jiwoo's eyes. When Han Sen lost his balance, without trying to defend himself, he continued to attack. Jing Jiwoo was not afraid of such a challenge. He made two shots at the same time. One went to hit Han Sen's arrow, whereas the other one flew to Han Sen's face, who seemed to have lost his ability to dodge. It seemed that Han Sen had given up on avoiding Jing Jiwoo's attack altogether. Before he fell, he shot twice at Jing Jiwoo. Ah! The stands were filled with excitement. No one thought the duel would end so fast. At this point, it seemed that Han Sen had already lost. Han Sen's bow was so weak that his arrows could never hit Jing Jiwoo. Even if they could, they would be much slower than Jing Jiwoo's arrows, so he would still be eliminated first. And Jing Jiwoo's arrows were so strong that even the two arrows from Han Sen could hit Jing Jiwoo's. They would never be able to stop them. It seemed that the result was already clear. Neither of Han Sen's arrows could touch Jing Jiwoo's, while Jing Jiwoo's arrow traveled between Han Sen's two arrows and was in Han Sen's face instantaneously like a lightning bolt. Damn! Ji Yanran did not want to watch anymore. It's over. Situ Xiang was filled with regret. How she wished she could give Han Sen a strong arrow for a fair duel. Han Sen should not have lost the game like this. Even the Emperor did not beat the monster, when Xiao also lamented. Everyone thought Han Sen was about to lose. However, when that arrow approached Han Sen pulled the string when he completely lost his balance. The arrow in Han Sen's hand did not go out. Han Sen held the tail of the arrow and used its head to hit Jing Jiwoo's arrow. This way, Han Sen was using the weight of his body to move the incoming arrow, which was knocked away, and Han Sen himself down to the ground. At this time, the first of the three arrows shot by Han Sen collided with Jing Jiwoo's second arrow, while Han Sen's other two arrows flew toward Jing Jiwoo. It seemed that the last two arrows shot lost their accuracy since they were shot when Han Sen was falling. One turned left and the other turned right, flying past Jing Jiwoo's body. When the audience were sighing, Jing Jiwoo's expression changed. The arrow that was supposed to be blocked by Jing Jiwoo's arrow did not stop but continued to fly to Jing Jiwoo. How is this possible? How can Jing Jiwoo make this mistake? Qin Sheng suddenly stood up, grabbing the fence. An error? How did that happen? When Xiao was also shocked. Someone like Jing Jiwoo would never make a mistake. In his 4 years of military school study, Jing Jiwoo had attended thousands of competitions of a wide range, in which he had never made a single mistake. Wonderful! Situ Xiang did not know why Jing Jiwoo would have missed, but she was overjoyed. Because of this mistake, Han Sen's arrow was already in Jing Jiwoo's face. And Jing Jiwoo also noticed that the other two arrows from Han Sen happened to block everywhere he could dodge. Instantaneously, Jing Jiwoo made the right judgment. Like Han Sen, he drew his bowstring, but did not launch the arrow. Jing Jiwoo held the tail of his arrow and uses the head to hit Han Sen's. Everyone was looking at Jing Jiwoo's hands. It seemed the head of Jing Jiwoo's arrow was about to collide with Han Sen's. Everybody thought that Han Sen's arrow would be flicked away. After all, Han Sen and Jing Jiwoo were using the same method. Now Han Sen's arrow was shot from a 11.0 bow, so it was even more likely that it would be bounced off. However, Han Sen's arrow suddenly became alive and moved half an inch away from Jing Jiwoo's arrowhead. Like a snake, it dove under Jing Jiwoo's arrow and ended up on Jing Jiwoo's chest. Looking down, Jing Jiwoo was dumbstruck. Qin Chung was speechless. So was Wen Xiaoxiao, Situ Xiang, every team member from the Alliance Central Military Academy and Black Hawk Military Academy, and all the viewers. Although everyone saw what had happened, they could not believe that Jing Jiwoo would be hit like this. Ji Yanran and Chu Lily were cheering and jumping like a couple of maniacs. Jing Jiwoo is out, muttered Shi Zhikong. I believe so. Zhang Yang wasn't so sure about it. No one in the Blackhawk team believed it had actually happened. They could not trust their own eyes. The monster, the invincible monster, who had ruled the Military Academy League for 3 years, was hit like this. Alliance Central Military Academy. Jing Jiwoo. Out. Archer. Blackhawk.
Han Sen.
When the voice of the AI ran in the field, everyone came back to themselves. Ah. Shi Zhikong hugged Lu Ming, shouting and turning around. We won. Su Tianhao was still sitting there. Surprise and joy filled his eyes. Zhang Yang threw away the towel in his hands and jumped over the fence, rushing over to Han Senator, and the other teammates followed him to Han Sen's side. Coach, did we just win? The team manager looked at Situ Xiang incredulously. Yes, we did. Situ Xiang was answering both the manager and herself. The entire venue and Skynet were going mad. Jing Jiwoo lost. What's that arrow made of? Did I see it right? It dodged Jing Jiwoo's arrow itself. An era has ended? The monster just lost. Unbelievable. When Xiaoxiao felt that her blood was almost boiling and her voice changing, disregarding that, she shouted at the top of her lungs, Miracle! Blackhawk made a miracle. Han Sen created a miracle. The monster Jing Jiwoo fell under the miraculous shot. Our new emperor has crowned himself with an arrow. If you are the emperor, let me crown you. If you are the emperor, please accept my faith and allegiance. If you are the emperor, I thank you for giving us a reason to cheer. If you are the emperor, please hold high your arrow of victory and guide us to a bright future. This moment, you are the emperor. This moment, you are our ruler. This moment, only you can bring us joy. This moment, we are your followers. We cheer for you. We take pride in you, because you are our almighty emperor. When Xiaoxiao read aloud the prose she wrote to celebrate Han Sen's victory, all the fans of the Alliance Central Military Academy had gone, whereas the rest of the audience was dancing. The Skynet was all over this, as people were discussing how Han Sen beat Jing Jiwoo like crazy. What a shot! How did he do it? The old king is gone and the new king is crowned. In the future, Han Sen will rule the Military Academy League. Long live the emperor! I still can't believe this. Did Jing Jiwoo really lose? This is the beginning of a new era. The monster died under an arrow of the emperor. That shot was so weird. Did he do anything to that arrow? Can he control it remotely? He only won an archery match. It is way too early to call him the emperor. Long live the emperor! What a weird shot. No one could sleep that night. The entire Blackhawk school team lost sleep, including Situ Xiang. It was like a dream to beat the Alliance Central Military Academy with Jing Jiwoo on their team. All the military academies had the same dream, while they were the only ones who realized it, to beat Jing Jiwoo in archery. Although there were coincidences and lots of luck, a victory was a victory. They were the winners. If they didn't have a match tomorrow and had to rest, they would have gone out and partied all night. Even lying in bed, they were too excited to fall asleep. Han Sen, did we really win? Shi Zhikong asked, lying on his bed.
Yes, replied Han Sen.
Zhang Yang, did we really win? Shi Zhikong asked Zhang Yang again.
Yes, replied Zhang Yang.
Victor. Before Shi Zhikong asked, Lu Ming said directly, if you keep disturbing us, we will suggest Coach Situ Xiang put you on the bench tomorrow. Damn it. Why would you do that? I beat even the monster, and you won't let me go when we have a weaker opponent? Shi Zhikong jumped up. You can try and say one more sentence, said Lu Ming calmly. Shi Zhikong opened his mouth but did not make a sound. He was indeed afraid that he would not be able to represent the school tomorrow. Situ Xiang couldn't sleep either. Until now, she still felt unreal about the match result. Her team beat the Alliance Central Military Academy and realized the dream of all the other military school coaches. Han Sen, you are amazing. Situ Xiang wished that Han Sen were in front of him so that she could give him a huge hug. The Blackhawk team members could not sleep, and all the media also went nuts. No one could have thought that the Alliance Central Military Academy would lose to Blackhawk. Everything happened so fast. All the media reported the match between Blackhawk and the Alliance Central Military Academy. The highlights were Blackhawk's tactics and the duel between Han Sen and Jing Jiwoo. Most media quoted Wen Xiuxiu and called Han Sen the Emperor. Overnight, the nickname was known in the entire alliance. Jing Jiwoo was so famous that Han Sen, the only person to beat him, became extremely popular quickly and was considered the new ruler of the Military Academy League. Suddenly, Jing Jiwoo seemed to be yesterday's news and Han Sen became the new hype. On the rooftop, 3 young men were looking at the night view of the city, leaning over the railings. How do you feel about the failure? Tang Zhenliu drank some beer and asked Jing Jiwoo next to him with a smile. Not bad. That Han Sen was beyond my expectation. I did lose. Jing Jiwoo smiled. So, what happened with the last shot? Tang Zhenliu couldn't help but ask. The arrow was spinning, Jing Jiwoo said casually. What do you mean by the arrow was spinning? Tang Zhenliu paused and did not understand Jing Jiwoo. The arrow was shot from a bow instead of thrown by hand. Unless the arrow was special, it was impossible that the arrow would spin. In the tournament, all the arrows were ordinary arrows provided by the sponsor, so the arrow itself could not spin either. I don't know, replied Jing Jiwoo. How is it that you don't know? Tang Zhenliu looked at Jing Jiwoo in surprise. Jing Jiwoo was facing that arrow. With his skills, he would definitely know if the arrow was altered. Lin Feng cut in. Indeed, he does not know. There are ways to shoot a spinning arrow like that, using the flow of the air to make the arrow shift its direction. However, none of them could be realized by the unevolved. Interesting guy. Unfortunately, this is already my last year, and I will never have a chance to fight him again. Jing Jiwoo threw the empty bottle into the trash can and walked to the staircase. Bye guys, I hope to see you again. What plan do you have now? Asked Lin Feng. Originally, I wanted to go to the battlefield after the tournament. Now that is not necessary anymore. I will leave tonight, said Jing Jiwoo without turning his head. I will wait for you, Lin Feng said, watching Jing Jiwoo leaving. Jing Jiwoo paused, turned back and smiled. You haven't fought him either, right? You mean Han Sen? Lin Feng paused and understood. Jing Jiwoo smiled and walked away. What does he mean? Tang Zhenliu felt puzzled. He meant that if he did not beat Han Sen, I probably could not either, said Lin Feng casually. Hearing this answer, Tang Zhenliu couldn't even hide his surprise. Blackhawk's opponents in the next few rounds were not strong teams, which gave them more opportunities to practice. With their newly gained confidence and Han Sen's incredible spinning arrows, Blackhawk became the champion of this year's archery tournament. Every media was crazy about the new champion team and used all kinds of words like Blackhawk Miracle, New Emperor, and incredible archery skills, making Han Sen the new star among all the military school students. Now, all the military schools knew that Blackhawk had an archer as good as Jing Jiwoo. When the archery school team returned to Blackhawk, they received the utmost welcome and the school rewarded them handsomely. Their performance was also recorded in the school yearbook. This was the first time Blackhawk had won a championship in the Military Academy League. If the current rules allowed one player to participate in multiple items, the president of Blackhawk would want Han Sen to sign up for each and every item. The individual game in the archery tournament was not a real competition, but an exhibition match among the 10 most popular archers. With Han Sen's fame and spinning arrows, he won the first place without any doubt. Although this glory was much less than winning as the team, it gave Han Sen extra academic credits. The spinning arrow was a creation by Han Sen using the reference of the Beetle Knight's spinning spear and the theory of yin-yang blast. During the 3 months when Han Sen fought the Beetle Knight, he learned nothing other than this skill, which led to his victory in the duel against Jing Jiwoo. Even so, he was very lucky to win. If he were to do it again, Han Sen was not sure if he could still beat Jing Jiwoo. The championship of Black Hawk was the one and only miracle. The sky was blue, and the beach was warm. A beauty with skin as fair as milk, long legs, and beautiful curves were dipping in the water wearing nothing but bikini. Lying under the beach umbrella, Han Sen could not move his eyes away from Ji Yanran in bikini. Life is good. Watching Ji Yanran's alluring figure, Han Sen felt that God loved him. Ji Yanran really kept her promise and took him on a vacation, which was beyond Han Sen's expectation. Ji Yanran even took care of asking for leave from school. "I'm such a charming guy." Han Sen took off his sunglasses and looked at his own reflection in the lens, appreciating his handsome look. "Why don't you go swimming?" Ji Yanran returned to the beachside and asked Han Sen. Harry pulled her into his own arms, held her tiny waist, and whispered into her ear, "We have 4 days and 3 nights, for which I need to save some energy." Ji Yanran suddenly blushed and pinched Han Sen's waist. While Han Sen was complaining, she ran away to another chair. "Why is no one here? You didn't rent the entire beach, did you?" Harry looked around and was curious why he never saw other tourists here. "When have you ever heard such a thing as renting a beach?" Ji Yanran rolled her eyes and said, "This is a private beach, so of course there is no one here." "You own the beach?" Han Sen was surprised. "I don't," Ji Yanran grinned and said, "but this planet belongs to my uncle." Han Sen choked on the water he just drank. He knew that Ji Yanran was from a rich family, but did not imagine they would be so rich. "Wonderful. As long as I'm with you, I would not need to work ever," Han Sen smiled and said. "You wish. In my family, only sons can inherit family businesses. Now I can still use the family resources, but when I am married, it's all up to you." Ji Yanran curled her lips and said, "You have such a strong desire to marry me. I haven't even decided if I want to do that yet." Han Sen pretended to be surprised by her. "Huh." Ji Yanran suddenly became angry from embarrassment and threw herself at Han Sen. With a sly smile on his face, Han Sen grabbed her hand and pulled her back to his arms, kissing her alluring lips. Ji Yanran struggled a little and gave up, enjoying the kiss as well. Han Sen's hand moved between Ji Yanran's waist and butts, as he hesitated if he should have this gorgeous girl right here on the beach. Suddenly, with the sound of a whistle, Han Sen saw an ancient yacht sailing over. Han Sen had only seen such a thing in movies. Ji Yanran immediately stood up from Han Sen's arms. As the yacht came into the pier, a young man of about 25 years old came down with a few bodyguards and walked towards the couple. Smiling, the young man waved to Ji Yanran from afar. "Ji Yanran, it's been a while since you visited us." "Brother, I'm a military school student now and don't have too much time." Ji Yanran introduced Han Sen to the young man. "This is my schoolmate Senator Han Sen. This is my brother Ji Lingfeng." "Brother," Han Sen called Ji Lingfeng directly.
Yanran blushed.
Ji Lingfeng paused and smiled. "Han Sen, are you the one who beat Jing Jiwoo in the archery tournament?" "Yes, that's me," said Han Sen casually. "So impressive. No wonder Ji Yanran would bring you back." Ji Lingfeng cast a glance at his sister. Ji Yanran blushed and pouted. "Brother, did you come to pick us up, or did you come to chat? We'll talk on the ship then." Ji Lingfeng took the couple on board, and then the yacht sailed away into the ocean. "Han Sen, do you know any drinking games?" Ji Lingfeng sat down in the lounge and put 2 bottles of wine in front of Han Sen. "Some," Han Sen said with a smile. When the yacht stopped in front of a garden-like island, Ji Lingfeng came off the yacht on the back of his bodyguard. He was so drunk that he couldn't even walk himself. Ji Lingfeng went straight to bed when he reached the villa on the island. Han Sen and Ji Yanran had to have dinner without him. "I remember that brother said there is a hot spring. Shall we go there?" After dinner, Han Sen gazed at his girlfriend. Ji Yanran blushed as she knew what the guy was thinking. She had brought Han Sen here, thinking that because of her brother's presence, Han Sen would not dare to go too far. However, she did not expect Ji Lingfeng to get drunk so fast. In the huge pool of hot spring, Ji Yanran and Han Sen were the only 2 person there. Within half an hour, Ji Yanran was pink all over in an alluring way. Han Sen could no longer control himself. He held the girl in his arms and walked quickly toward the bedroom. Her head buried in Han Sen's chest, Ji Yanran was limp as if she were drunk. Han Sen placed the Ji Yanran onto the white sheet. Ji Yanran's eyes were sparkling and her cheeks rosy. "My darling, here I come." Han Sen threw himself at her. The trip of 4 days felt like a second to Han's senator when he got back to Black Hawk. Han Sen entered God's sanctuary and started to attend to the business of the special squad. The cloud beast still needed more than a month to evolve into a sacred blood creature. Han Sen planned to use the time to hunt a few mutant creatures. The best place to hunt mutant creatures was Dark Swamp, but the mutant creatures there were too large. Devil Desert also had plenty of mutant creatures, but they often showed up in groups, which was troublesome. After some thoughts, Han Sen decided to try his luck in the Jade-Dragon Mountains. Before he became the head of the special squad, Han Sen only knew the names of some mountains nearby, but had no idea about the specifics. After he became the head, Han Sen read many useful insider materials, a lot of which were about the Jade-Dragon Mountains. Although the Jade-Dragon Mountains were discovered a long time ago, no one really dared to go hunting there. Even the 3 big gangs in the shelter did not dare to hunt creatures in the Jade-Dragon Mountains. The main reason was the abundance of advanced creatures in the Jade-Dragon Mountains. Han Sen heard that the Bloody Slayer also came from there. According to the materials he read in the accounts of those who had been there, several sacred blood creatures would appear together on the edge of the Jade-Dragon Mountains. Most people who had been there had died, and the few who had made it back did not dare to go there again. It was beyond the question of ability. Where there were too many sacred blood creatures, a large group would not even be useful. The survivors had described a 300-foot-long gigantic serpentine, a bird as large as a piece of dark cloud, and a giant beast like a hill, among others. What impressed Han Sen the most was that the survivors did not see any ordinary or primitive creatures. The least advanced creatures there were mutant ones. Although it was risky, Han Sen had a sacred blood color shifter beast soul, which could help him sneak in and seek opportunities. As for his scent, Han Sen uses 1 point of his special squad credits and purchased a bottle of vegetation water, which was a tried-and-true solution to cover up the scent of mankind. After all the preparation, Han Sen left for the Jade-Dragon Mountains, carrying the Diamond Sword and the Beetle Knight Spear. Even with Meowth's high speed, it still took Han Sen 8 days to reach his destination without doing any hunting on the way. At the fringe of the Jade-Dragon Mountains, Han Sen became extra careful. He took Meowth away and sprayed the vegetation water all over himself. Wearing his sacred blood armor, Han Sen walked toward the mountains. Although he had wings, Han Sen did not dare to fly around. A sacred blood flying beast soul was fast, but it fell short to a flying sacred blood creature. It would be a suicidal move if Han Sen decided to fly. Han Sen could not afford to use the color shifter beast soul right away because he had a time limit to use a shape-shifting beast soul. Han Sen would not choose to shape-shift unless it was an emergency. The Jade-Dragon Mountains were different from other places. Even in Devil Desert, ordinary and primitive creatures could be spotted everywhere. However, since Han Sen entered these mountains, he had not seen a single creature. The mountains were formed of black stones. There were hardly any plants on them. The landscape was desolate and bleak. Traveling for a long while, he eventually saw a creature, which was as big as a mamo beast. Just listening to its hoof beat, Han Sen could feel the earth was shaking. Although he did not know whether the creature was sacred blood or mutant, Han Sen had lost his interest in it just by looking at its size. As the creature ran around in the Jade-Dragon Mountains, Han Sen followed it at a distance. With such a large creature in the front, all sorts of other creatures would be alarmed. This way, Han Sen could reduce his risks significantly. After following the creature for a couple of hours, Han Sen did not run into any trouble. Indeed, the creatures in the Jade-Dragon Mountains were advanced, but there were fewer creatures here than in other places. Han Sen started to think whether or not he should continue to follow this creature. It was a safe way, but he did not run into any mutant creatures. He wondered whether it was because there were none, or because they were scared away by this giant. As Han Sen was hesitating, he suddenly heard a scream. The huge creature running in front of him was suddenly bit in the neck and dragged away by a creature that looked like a golden lion. The giant body of the huge creature was barely any larger than the head of the lion-like creature. The lion chewed a little and swallowed it down. Han Sen was covered in cold sweats. The golden lion was as big as a mountain. In front of the golden lion, Han Sen was not much better than an ant. Even the golden rock worm king in its largest shape was merely a pet to the lion. Shocked, Han Sen was ready to retreat. As he turned around, he felt a chill and almost let out a scream. On the path where he came from, thousands of giant beasts that looked like the one eaten by the lion were running toward them. Their hoofbeat was almost like thunder, making the entire valley tremble. Han Sen was distracted by the golden lion swallowing the beast he was following, and did not notice when the entire herd had got here. The herd was just 2 or 3 miles from Han Senator at their speed. They would arrive momentarily. Han Sen looked around and found that he was circled by steep mountains, and the only way out was blocked by the enormous golden lion. Han Sen gritted his teeth and summoned the color shifter, planning to hide on a mountain wall. If he did not move too fast, no creature could notice him. When Han Sen was about to climb, he noticed dark clouds were covering the sky. With a closer look, the dark clouds were actually formed by large black birds, each with a wingspan of 20 feet. Flocks of the birds occupied the peaks of the mountains, their red eyes staring at what was happening underneath. Birds had the best eyesight among all creatures. If Han Sen stayed still, the color shifter might be able to fool them. However, if he started to climb, there would be certain gaps which would expose him. Han Sen felt bitterly disappointed and cursed. Who the F*** #K said there were few creatures here? They're all acting in groups. Han Sen was running out of time. The herd of beasts were about to arrive, and on the bare mountain walls he had nowhere to hide. Even if he stood clinging to the mountain wall, he was not sure if he could survive the jostling of so many beasts. He did not dare to climb up either with all the birds watching. The mountain tops were covered by the birds, and he was not confident that he could escape the millions of eyes. Suddenly, Han Sen ran toward the golden lion. Although the golden lion was obviously 1,000 times stronger than the herd and flock, it was also so large that Han Sen was merely a bug in its eyes. When using the color shifter, the golden lion would not necessarily notice Han Sen. Instead of risking it climbing the mountain wall, Han Sen decided to try his luck with the golden lion. The birds would not dare to approach the lion, so he could just hide in its fur and try to run away when there was a chance. He tried to move toward the golden lion, which did not notice him. However, the birds on the mountains nearby were flapping their wings and squeaking. Obviously, they had seen him. Many birds were diving to grab him. Han Sen no longer hesitated and dashed toward the golden lion, which was the only way to survive. Han Sen started to regret. He had been complacent lately. Knowing that Jade Dragon Mountains were incredibly dangerous, he had still thought he could always be safe with his ability. It was too late to regret anyway. Han Sen just prayed that the golden lion would not take him seriously. Maybe his prayers had worked. The golden lion did not notice Han Sen at all, but was distracted by the birds after him. The lion waved its paw and smashed one of the birds, which became a snack. The other birds flew away screeching, and no longer dared to chase Han Sen, who was next to the hind leg of the golden lion. The hind leg was a hill for Han Sen, and each golden hair as thick as Han Sen's arm. Han Sen quickly grabbed the hair and climbed up. He did not dare to leave the lion, as all the birds were watching him. Once he left, they would probably attack him again. The herd of the beasts were about to rush over, and Han Sen had to make it to the golden lion's back in order to survive. Luckily, Han Sen was too small for the golden lion to notice him. Grabbing the golden hair, Han Sen used all fours to move up. When he just reached the thigh, the lion suddenly stood up. Han Sen felt that he was thrown out of a running train, and quickly attached himself to a hare using Ghost Haunt. The angry herd of beasts were in the face of the golden lion and started their attack. However, it was like using an egg to hit a stone. It could not even be called an attack. The herd were simply suicidal. The golden lion could kill several of them with one swipe. Sometimes it even threw a beast into its mouth. Momentarily, the valley had become a blood river, and the carcasses had piled up. The golden lion did not even take the thousands of beasts seriously. In its eyes, they were merely a dinner. The herd kept charging, which was a futile effort. The golden lion fed as it wished, and thousands of beasts all died within half an hour. After eating some of the meat itself, the golden lion lost interest in the carcasses and went deeper into the mountains. The flocks of blackbirds then made a dive, throwing themselves at the remains of the beasts. Sitting on the back of the golden lion, Han Sen was quite upset. He thought he would eventually have an opportunity to leave the lion, but it turned out he was being naive. The golden lion was enormous and had an incredible speed. The flocks of birds were following the golden lion everywhere, treating it like a stable food source. The leftover meat of the lion's meal would always go into the bird's belly. What troubled Han Sen was that the birds were all mutant creatures. With their size and strength, thousands of them together were quite scary. What was worse was that, among them there were 2 bird kings that had a wingspan of over 50 feet. Han Sen was positive that they were sacred blood creatures. They were very similar to the silver bird that almost killed him, and there were a pair of them. Han Sen did not know what to do. He was trapped on this enormous lion. The birds did not dare to approach the lion, while he did not dare to leave the lion, which was a dilemma. The silver lining was that when the golden lion was feeding, he could use a string-attached arrow to drag some meat over, which was all mutant meat. After a few days, his mutant geno points had increased a few. Several days later, the golden lion was deep in the Jade Dragon Mountains. Although it did not travel all the time, it was incredibly fast. Han Sen was not sure where he was. Around him were the same black mountains. Fortunately, the golden lion did not change its direction, so Han Sen knew how to go out. However, on his way here, he had seen numerous horrifying creatures wandering around in the mountains. Following the golden lion, he could keep himself safe, since no creatures could beat the lion. However, when he thought about going out, Han Sen did not have a solution. I should have definitely remained humble. Han Sen regretted so much that his pride drove him to Jade Dragon Mountains. It turned out God's sanctuary was way more dangerous than he had thought. He had believed that based on his capability, he could go anywhere he wanted within First God's sanctuary. However, after entering Jade Dragon Mountains, he found out how wrong he was. Han Sen was trapped on the lion for more than a month and did not have any chance to run away. The birds were like minions, following the golden lion everywhere. The golden lion had left the Jade Dragon Mountains and entered a plain following a wide river. Han Sen wondered where it was going. In more than a month, Han Sen had seen countless frightening creatures torn into pieces by the golden lion. One time, he used a threaded arrow to draw back a piece of meat from a giant snake and heard the voice saying 1 sacred geno point gained, which was shocking to him. It turned out that some of the prey of the golden lion were sacred blood creatures. Traveling across mountains and rivers, the golden lion ended up on the ocean, which could not stop the lion either. Han Sen was completely speechless. He did not know where the golden lion was going, but one thing was for sure, he did not know how to go back. Even if he remembered the way back, based on what he saw on the way here, he could not go back safely alone. Han Sen thought about jumping into the ocean, but the giant figures swimming on the bottom of the sea made him give up the idea. One thing was rather odd. The enormous lion could always attract tons of creatures to give their lives and become its food. After observing for a long while, Han Sen discovered that it was not a coincidence. The creatures did not wish to commit suicide, but was attracted by the birds. The birds could make a sound similar to baby cries. For some reason, when creatures heard that noise, they would be attracted over like crazy and end up dead under the lion's paw. Han Sen then understood that the reason why the birds could follow the golden lion was not that the lion could not kill them, but that the lion wanted them to be there. Maybe the birds were indeed like what Han Sen thought, the minions of the golden lion, attracting praise for the lion and enjoying the leftover. Even the creatures in the ocean could not resist the sound of the birds. They would often come over, and when the lion needed to feed, the water nearby would become red. Although Han Sen had known that God's sanctuary was almost endless, he was still shocked by what he saw on the back of the lion. Now he understood why humans could not even make a full discovery of First God's sanctuary alone. Following the lion, Han Sen had benefited a lot from the leftover meat. At this point, his sacred geno points were increased to 61 and mutant geno points to 84. Han Sen did not know whether he should feel sad or happy. At this rate, although he could not go back to eat the sacred blood creature he was feeding, his progress was not slow. What made Han Sen felt desperate was that another 2 birds in the flock had evolved into sacred blood creatures recently. With 4 sacred blood birds following the lion, Han Sen felt that he really had nowhere to go. When he was about to give up, the birds suddenly scattered and disappeared. Han Sen thought they would come back, but he never saw the birds again. One day later, Han Sen saw a golden island appearing on the horizon. On the island stood a golden mountain, connecting the ocean and the sky. Clouds were halfway up the mountain, and snow was covering the summit. At the foot of the mountain was a sea of red flowers. The entire island was covered by the same kind of flower, except for the mountain itself. The golden and red colors together made an astonishing landscape. When Han Sen had recovered from his surprise, the golden lion had stepped on the island. Han Sen did not know how to describe what he felt at the time. After crossing mountains, rivers, and the ocean, it turned out that the golden lion came to the desolate island just to give birth to its offspring. The golden mountain seemed to be a volcano with a large basin on top. The golden lion was crouching inside the basin, howling. Han Sen had got off the lion's back and watched the lion for 7 days. In the beginning, he thought the lion might have gotten sick from eating too many red flowers and wanted to see if the lion was going to die. However, after crying for a week, the lion gave birth to an elephant-sized baby lion. It turned out the lion came here to give birth, so it just gave birth to its baby. End of story. Han Sen sighed and prepared to leave. The golden lion was so strong that Han Sen would not survive its attack even though it was weak from giving birth. As Han Sen turned around, he suddenly heard a shrill scream from the lion, which suddenly spit out a large amount of golden blood.
Han Sen paus.
There was no other creature here, so why would the lion suddenly spit out blood? Momentarily, the golden lion spit out more blood like a fountain. As Han Sen was surprised, he suddenly saw a golden crystal globe with a diameter of 3 feet. The crystal was as brilliant as a diamond and seemed to have the entire galaxy sparkling inside it. Han Sen gazed at it and thought, "What is that?" After spitting out the miraculous golden crystal, the golden lion stopped roaring and tried to separate the crystal from its blood with its paw. Because of its giant size, the lion had a hard time moving the golden crystal in front of the baby lion that it just gave birth to, which had not even opened its eyes. Roar! After doing all that, the golden lion regarded the baby lion licking the golden crystal and closed its eyes. It seemed that it had died. Han Sen was dumbstruck. He wasn't sure if the golden lion was really dead, but blood kept coming out of its mouth and the basin and became an inch-deep pool. There was no way the lion would live. The baby lion that was just born had no idea what had happened. With its eyes still closed, it was holding the golden crystal with 2 paws and licking it with its tongue. "Let's do this." Han Sen was good at assassination and was very sensitive about how lively a creature was. It was obvious that the golden lion had died. The golden crystal it spit out seemed to be something quite precious. Han Sen watched the baby lion licking it became stronger after a while. Han Sen gritted his teeth, summoned wings and flew into the basin. He drew the beetle knight spear and stuck it between the baby lion and the golden crystal. Using the spear as a lever, he moved the golden crystal away from the baby lion's paws. The golden crystal rolled away toward the wall. The baby lion became upset. Being just born, it could not even open its eyes or stand up, and its paws were still weak. All it could do was to sniff in the direction of the golden crystal and make puerile growling. Han Sen had flown into the air, observing the giant golden lion from afar. Seeing it remained completely still, Han Sen then felt relaxed and flew toward the golden crystal. He first knocked at it with his spear. It sounded like a stone. Han Sen reached out to touch it. It did feel cool. The lion would not do any harm to its baby, right? Since the baby lion could lick it, there should be no problem. Han Sen glanced at the growling baby lion, which was struggling to come over, and made up his mind. He too licked at the golden crystal. As his tongue touched the golden crystal, He felt the crystal melting into liquid. Although there was not much taste, the cooling sense was refreshing. As he drank it, Han Sen felt a chill. It felt that all his spores were suddenly open and that he had more energy than he could use. Amazing stuff indeed. Han Sen felt so energetic and overjoyed that he licked the crystal continuously. It was like sucking on an icicle. The faster he licked, the more liquid he got. Very soon, Han Sen had licked away a football-sized piece of crystal. As he was drinking the golden liquid, he almost felt reborn. Energy filled all of his cells. What is this? This is much better than Viagra. This must be the life essence of the golden lion? Han Sen was overjoyed, as he knew the golden crystal must be something amazing. The baby lion quickly struggled to get up. Han Sen pondered and tried to hold the golden crystal up, which was lighter than he had thought, just around 200 pounds. Han Sen held it up and flew to the other end of the basin. The baby lion wouldn't give up. Sniffing around, it kept crawling, persistent to get the crystal back. I did not want to kill you because you were just a baby, but since you will not give up, I will have no mercy. Han Sen made up his mind and stabbed the spear at the baby lion. Ding! The spear did not even break the baby lion's skin. The spearhead was even bounced back by its fur. Han Sen widened his eyes and looked at the baby lion incredulously.